ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वदात्मजं वानरयूथमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शिरसा नमामि। कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलम्। आपदामपहर्तारं दातारं सर्वसम्पदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम्। दक्षिणे लक्ष्मणो यस्य वामे च जनकात्मजा पुरतो मारुतिर्यस्य तं वन्दे रघुनन्दनम्। Since we haven't met in a couple of weeks, it's nice to start off with a happy note, because this entire series that we've been going on for weeks and weeks and weeks is all about fighting, bloodshed, killing, maiming, destroying, blood, flow of the river of blood, and hands being cut off, heads being cut off, torsos floating everywhere. It's gory or ghastly. Um, so we'll continue into the fight. Of course, it's important. It's the entire Yuddha Kanda. But we will start with a sweet note. We'll start with Angada, where we ended actually last time. But we'll recite that verse first, because that verse is what gave Ramachandra great pleasure in his heart. And we are always interested in the pleasure of Sri Ramachandra. And whatever gives him pleasure is pleasing to his followers. So Valmiki says, Atha Angado Ram Manah Praharshanam. Rama Manah Praharshanam. He gave great joy to the heart of Sri Ramachandra by doing something. Sudushkaram tam krutavan hi vikramam. Sudushkaram. He has done something very, very difficult. And that was the killing of Narantaka. Narantaka was such a formidable fighter, the son of Ravana. But the way in which Angada fought with Narantaka was so pleasing to the Supreme Lord. Visismaye sopyatha bhima karmaha punascha yuddhe sa babhuva harshita. Angada actually performed on this occasion the aforesaid feat of valor, which was exceedingly difficult to perform and which brought excessive delight to the mind of Sri Rama, so much so that the latter too was struck with wonder. Even Sri Ramachandra was visismaye, was completely struck with wonder. For example, if you have an excellent, um, I don't know, expert at some topic, let's say the game of tennis or cricket, or expert in science, and someone far younger does something, for a person who's very accomplished, that little task doesn't seem Great. Ah, yeah, I know that. But if they do something that is so fascinating that even the expert feels, wow, then that is a great achievement. So in front of Sri Ramachandra, Angada is a bacha, if you will. But he's fighting, and Ramachandra is the greatest warrior that has ever existed. And that Sri Ramachandra also became Visismaye. Visismaye became so excessively delightful. Angada of terrific valiant deeds was infused with vigor once more for a fight. Punashta yuddhe sa babhuva harshitaha. So when one senses that the Lord is pleased, then it gives the devotee a new vigor to continue fighting. Now, this is a fight on a battlefield of Lanka, and we are interested in the story, sure, we're interested in the tattva. The tattva being that in the battle with the mind, even if there is a tiny success or a victory, even for one day, it brings pleasure to the heart of the Supreme Lord. And to know that the Supreme Lord is happy brings a new vigor in the devotee to try and continue this fight against the mind and all of the mind's derivatives, like Narantaka, this one, that one. We're going to hear more. And that's what gives us the energy, the enthusiasm, not our strength, not the sense of accomplishment on our own strength, but the sense of, oh, that is pleasing to the Lord. To overcome the pushings of the mind, to overcome the urges of the mind is pleasing. And that pleasure of the Lord gives new vigor and strength to continue. All right. So now, seeing Narantaka killed, Devantaka, Trishira, who's the son of Ravana, and Mahodara, they decided, oh, we have to go into the battlefield and fight now to avenge the death of our brother. So they started crying at the loss of their very dear brother and associate. So Mahodara sat on a mighty elephant as big as a cloud. And Mahodara himself is another mighty cloud. uh, and rushed towards Angada, because how dare Angada, the son of Vali, kill the son of Ravana? They are friends. Vali and Ravana are friends. Devantaka picked up his club, Gada, that had a fierce tip made of strong iron. And Narantaka also rushed towards Angada. So Angada, not after killing uh, the previous fellow, some of my memories. Yeah. After killing Narantaka, Devantaka, Trishira, and Mahodara all darted towards Angada, one fellow being attacked by three mighty, mighty warriors. Now, Angada, when he saw all three coming and attacking him, Angada pulled a mighty tree. And this mighty tree is not only has good root system, it's what we understand, because Valmiki says Mahavitapangada, Mahavitapam, that has great branches. When a tree has far-reaching branches, it means it has far-reaching roots as well. Otherwise, the tree cannot bear that weight. So, such a mighty tree, Angada just pulled out of the ground and threw it at Devantaka. And the intensity with which Angada shot it at Devantaka, Valmiki tells us it's like Indra shooting his thunderbolt weapon. But Trishira is not some ordinary fellow who's going to take defeat so easily. So Trishira, with his own arrows, completely tore that fast approaching tree uh, with his arrows and completely split it up. So Angada sprang up in the air and from there threw even more trees and rocks at Trishira, and Trishira becoming angry. How dare this impetuous Vanara fight with me? So Trishira started shooting even more arrows and tore every stone and tree shaft that were approaching him into bits and pieces. Now, while Angada is fighting with Trishira's, Mahodara also is involved in the fight and he shattered the trees with his club. And Angada was attacked by Trishira with arrows. Then Angada's attention went to Mahodara and very quickly turned towards Mahodara. And uh, when he went towards him, Mahodara, with his gada, his club, struck the chest of Angada. Now, as Angada was being struck, Devantaka also came and hit Angada and quickly retreated from the scene. So, right now, Angada is simultaneously being attacked by these three mighty warriors. Yet, Angada did not even feel even the least uh, of any pain or agony or even alarm. Na vivyathe mahate. Vivyatha is like caught by, he was not even slightly caught by surprise. Na vivyate mahateja valiputraha pratapavan. He is a hero, mighty warrior. What Angada did is Sa Vegavan Mahavegam Krutva Paramadurjaya Talena Sabibhitrutya Jaghanasya Mahagajam. Mahagajam. Angada became so angry with his palm, struck the elephant on which Mahodara was riding. That slap, now this elephant is not some tiny little elephant. This itself is mighty huge, that is carrying Mahodara, who's very, very huge. So you can imagine the size and strength of that elephant. And Angada gave the elephant one tight slap. That slap was so strong that the eyes of that elephant fell off. And in a moment, that elephant died. Sometimes there are these competitions where two muscular people stand in front of each other and they have to slap each other. Obviously, whoever hits the stronger slap wins. But if you see, they stand like that and the other guy will get some powder in his hands and give one tight slap on the face of the other. And you can see the eyes of the guy receiving the slap. The eyes just get a complete shock. Because imagine the skull being hit with such intensity. But Angada's slap was so strong that the elephant's eyes just fell off. Then what Angada did is, in that anger and that fighting spirit, pulled out the tusk of the elephant. And the tusk was like a weapon. We went to Sri Lanka, we went to some Buddhist temples, and the deity of Buddha right before him are these mighty tusks of elephants that they've kept there as decoration or offering. Oh my God, such big, big tusks. Now that's tiny compared to this elephant that we're talking about. So Angada pulled out the tusk and completely went after Devantaka. And with that tusk, hit Devantaka strongly. The intensity with which Angada hit Devantaka felt like a tree that is being shaken up. If you want, go to YouTube and look at how they harvest apples, even oranges or olives from a tree. Nobody plucks them one by one. There is this mighty machine that holds the trunk of the tree and has a bag like thing that comes around and very strongly shakes the tree. And it shakes it with such intensity that all the fruits just fall. So the hit with which Angada, the intensity with which Angada hit Devantaka was like a tree that was shaken. So Devantaka was out of breath being hit like that. So it took him a moment to breathe, but then picked up his gada and with great strength hit Angada. When hit with such strength, Angada fell on the ground on his knees. But he's young, he's very strong, and in a moment sprang up on his feet again. But as he was getting up, Trishiras took his own arrows and started shooting and striking Angada, one after the other, and each of the arrows hitting Angada's forehead, brow area. Now, suddenly, Angada is surrounded by Devantaka, Mahodara, and Trishira, and they are fighting with Angada, and Angada is fighting back, and this Hanumanji saw. And immediately, our hero Hanumanji sprang into action to help Angada. And then Neela, who's also on the scene, also came in, picked up a mighty mountain peak and threw it at Trishiras. Of course, Trishira, being very smart, shot arrows and split that mountain into small pieces. Now, the the friction of the arrows hitting this rocky mountain top was such that there were sparks and flames all over. Now, Devantaka saw Trishira fighting so nicely and he became very happy. And so then Devantaka started to strike Hanumanji with his gada. But our Hanuman is not any ordinary Vanara. He's the hero among heroes. He sprang up and struck Devantaka on his head. As he was rushing towards Devantaka, with his hand, he struck him on his head with such intensity. And it's not just one, just pounded his head with blows one after the other and roaring loudly. So you can visualize Hanuman punching Devantaka on his head again and roaring loudly. And it was the intensity was so high that Devantaka's skull was shattered by all these punches. And Valmiki says, Sa mushti nishpita vibhinna murdha, that he punched with mushti, his fist so strong, nirvadanta, that his teeth fell off, atikshiv vila bijhvaha, his tongue fell off, and his eyes fell off. That was the end of Deva Antaka. His name was Deva Antaka, one who can finish the Devatas. But our Hanuman, by punching him on his head, popped Devantaka's eyes off, the tongue fell off, and his entire teeth fell off. Can you imagine oh, what strength Hanuman must have punched him. And this Devantaka, the son of Ravana, just fell down on the ground dead. Now, this fight is going on. Trishira, who's there, became even more upset and started to shoot arrows onto the chest of Neela. Then Mahodara, I'm sorry, Mahodara, yes, got back on another elephant that looked as tall as the Mandara mountain. And from there started shooting upon Neela an entire shower of arrows. So when Neela is the commander-in-chief of Ramachandra's army, and he was being covered on all sides by volleys of arrows, both Trishira and Mahodara. Now Neela broke off a mighty, mighty piece of rock. And Neela, by this time, had gained consciousness because he was being hit from all directions. He fell unconscious, got up, and threw such a mighty rock on Mahodara's head that Mahodara fell unconscious. And uh, Mahodara, from that unconsciousness, just fell to the ground dead. Now Trishira just saw Devantaka die. He saw Mahodara, his uncle, also die. And so Trishira seized his bow and started shooting arrows upon Hanuman. And everyone's fighting with everyone. And so when Hanuman is throwing mountain peaks, Trishira is breaking them out. And Trishira is such a formidable opponent. When Hanuman saw that the mountain peak that he had thrown on Trishira became useless because Trishira shot them off with arrows, Trishira kept on shooting arrow after arrow, and every tree that Hanuman was throwing at him was being broken, and so loudly Trishira roared as if he is victorious. Hanuman, who's a Vanara, has sharp nails, ran towards Trishira while Trishira is shooting arrows, and with his nails tore the horse of Trishira's. And the way he did it is the way a lion with its nails claws on a mighty elephant. So we should hear the verse. Hanumanstu samutpatya, samutpatya sprang up, hayam Trishiras tada. The horse of Trishira, Vidadara Nakhaihi Krudho, with full of anger, clawed and scratched and pierced the horse. Nagendra Mrigarad Iva, the king of the animals, that is the lion. As if a lion catches on to an elephant and claws that, and elephant has very thick skin, it's a pachyderm. But the lion's nails are so much, they're always hidden inside, that he pulls it on and pulls the flesh. Trishira was not any ordinary fellow. He is, after all, the son of Ravana. He picked up a javelin, that's a mighty spear-like thing, and threw it on Hanuman. As the javelin is coming towards Hanuman, and Hanuman's not far from Trishira's because he's just killed his horse, Hanuman caught the javelin and snapped it and broke it into pieces and loudly roared. "Ah!" When the Vanara saw the speed with which Hanuman is responding to Trishira, and Trishira throwing the javelin with might and speed, the Vanaras became so overjoyed that they all started roaring loudly and celebrating. But that was not enough. So Trishira very quickly pulled up his sword and hit it on Hanuman's chest. Immediately it cut a large wound and Hanuman was bleeding from his chest. But it's a fight. So while Hanuman is bleeding, in the same instant, Hanuman with his palm struck Trishiras on his chest. Now, when Trishira was hit like that, while Hanuman is bleeding on this side, Trishiras fell unconscious onto the ground. And the weapon that he had in his hand, the sword, slipped and fell down. So in an instant, Hanuman snatched that sword from the ground and roared so loudly that the Rakshasas were all shivering from Hanuman's cry of the war cry. And unable to bear the loudness and intensity of Hanuman's roar, uh, they all were just struck with a shock. But Trishiras, who had fallen unconscious and hearing that roar, sprang up on his feet and stood up and ran towards Hanuman and punched Hanuman on his chest. Now, Hanuman is still carrying this sword. Now, Hanuman became so angry being struck on the chest. Tena mushti praharena samchukopa. Hanuman became so angry. Mahakapihi kupitascha nijjagraha kirite rakshasa rishabham. So Hanuman, when Trishira is close by, punching him on the chest, Hanuman caught hold of Trishira's kirita, the crowns that he was wearing on his three heads. And by holding the crown like that, in a very swift act, Hanuman, with the sword of Trishiras, chopped off the three heads of Trishiras, just the way Indra had chopped off the heads of Vishwarupa, the son of Twashta. That comes in the sixth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Twashta, whose son was Vishwarupa, whose mother was on the Devan side, or comes from that side, the Asura side. The father comes from the Sura side. And when Indra had engaged him in performing a mighty yajna, Vishwarupa was also reciting mantras for the benefit of the Asuras. When Indra heard it, he took his sword and chopped off Vishwarupa's head in one clean strike. Like that, Hanuman cut off the three heads of Trishiras. The heads of Trishiras had big organs, eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and each of them was as big as a rock. Those three heads fell onto the ground, just the way stars fall from the sky. Now, when Trishiras was killed by a Hanuman, Hanuman roared a victory cry. And the Rakshasas, they saw that Trishira, Mahodara, Devantaka, Narantaka, these are all very high grade generals on Ravana's side. When they had come in, the Vanaras had to run away in fear. But when they were killed by Nila, Hanuman, Angada, everybody was stunned. The Rakshasas were in complete shock. At this time, Mahaparshva, another name is Matta, he became so angry, besides himself in anger, that how is this possible? He picked up his gada, that is made of very heavy iron but plated with gold, and had marks of blood and flesh on it, ready, because it's always dripping with blood, because he's such a fighter. He's he became angry that Mahaparshva was such a fellow that even Airavata, the elephant of Indra, was scared of him. And the other Dikpalaka elephants that guard the four directions, Mahapadma, Sarvabhauma, etc., they were all scared of Mahaparshva and his gada. Such Mahaparshva picked up his gada and started completely finishing off the monkeys left, right, and center in anger. His younger brother, Mahaparshva's younger brother, uh, known by the name Mattanika, uh, came face to face with Rishabha. And when he saw Rishabha standing in front of him, his fellow Mattanika became so angry that with his gada, that which tormented Airavata, hit Rishabha on his chest. The chest split open and it was bleeding like anything. And Rishabha fell unconscious, and after some time got up from his unconscious state, cast a glance of anger on Mahaparshva, and Rishabha's lips were quivering with rage. Then Rishabha, monkeys don't have weapons. The only weapons are fists and nails and teeth. Clenched his fist, and with great anger went and struck Mahaparshva on his chest. When you cut the roots of a tree, the tree just falls without any resistance. Mahaparshva fell on the ground like that. And now Rishabha roared with great delight. Now, Mahaparshva fell down dead, but in a few moments, his life breath came back into his body. And Rishabha was hit by Mahaparshva. It was astounding. Hey, we thought he fell down dead. But look, he came back up and hit Rishabha, the son of Varuna, with such strength that even Rishabha fell unconscious. Then Rishabha gained his consciousness back again and sprang up to fight with Mahaparshva. That fight between the two was such that Rishabha, let's read this verse here. When Mahaparshva had fallen, he had that gada in his hand. So Rishabha picked up that same gada and hit Mahaparshva back on his chest. So Trishira got killed with his own weapon. Mahaparshva also got killed with his own weapon and was hit with such intensity that blood started oozing, and all the other dhatus that were in Mahaparshva's body started to leak out and look like a mountain that is oozing with minerals. So there's different colors. Now, that was not enough. That Mahaparshva sped with great intensity back at Rishabha. Then, still Rishabha holding that Gada hit Mahaparshva again and again with it. Now, smashed with his own Gada, Mahaparshva's teeth and eyes fell down. And then Mahaparshva fell. Mahaparshva fell on the ground like a mountain falls, lifeless. Uh, the Rakshasas, when they saw even Mahaparshva killed by Rishabha, the armies of Ravana ran in all directions, like an ocean crosses its shores. When a tsunami appears, far away you see a mighty wave, because initially the water recedes. Whenever you see water receding far back, they say that's when you run, because very soon that tsunami is going to hit, and the tsunami is a lot faster, so you can't outrun it. But that's the indicator. And when the tsunami hits, the water comes with such intensity and speed and velocity that it crosses the shore and enters the land. Like that, the Rakshasas of Ravana ran away from. So now, after these have been killed, one after the other, both Mahodara, Mahaparshva, all of them killed on the battlefield, Ravana's another son, who's still there, his name is Atikaya, mighty body. He became so angry that he wore all of his battle gear, shining kirita, shining earrings, armor, weapons and armors to his arms, wrists, shoulders, started roaring to loudly to tell the Vanaras, I'm coming on the battlefield, and entered. And as his name is Atikaya, and as he entered, he was plucking his bowstring. And the sound was so intense that the monkeys were all struck with terror. Oh, they thought another Kumbhakarna again appeared on the battlefield, because Atikaya, which means very big bodied, Atikaya. In fact, the way he was walking, Valmiki says that the Vanaras thought this is Lord Trivikrama appearing again on the earth. Te tasya rupamalokya yatha Vishnos trikrame bhayad vanaryodhaste vidravanti tatastataha. From there on, here and there, the monkeys started running in all directions, because Atikaya, as he would step, he would crush them, he would kick, he would finish off all these monkeys. They were all so confused and caught by surprise. They all ran towards Sri Ramachandra, because he's the only one. Sharanyam, Sharanam. He's the one who can give them shelter. Ramachandra saw Atikaya, who looked like a mighty mountain, sitting on a chariot with bow, rumbling like a cloud, and looked like the universal time of universal destruction. And Ramachandra turned to Vibhishana and said, Ko asau parvata samkasho dhanushman harilochana. Who is this fellow who looks like a mountain, carrying bow and arrows, and has eyes that are greenish in color? And who is this fellow who has so many flaming spears and lances, and is there shining like Lord Shiva is surrounded by all of the Bhutaganas, and he looks like death himself. Please tell me, who is he? Then look at his weapons, his arrows, everything is so shining, fierce, powerful, dominating. This he looks like the tiger among the Rakshasas, and as resplendent as the sun that is illuminating this battlefield. And on his chariot, he has the emblem of Rahu. Rahu troubles everyone. Who is this fellow who is lighting up the 10 directions? And look at his chariot. Oh, and the chariot is so huge that there are 4 charioteers riding those horses. Chatusadisyama yukto mega stanniti swanaha. And when the chariot is moving forward, it sounds like the rumbling of clouds. This fellow has 20 quivers, 10 bows, and extra 8 bowstrings, and golden, reddish brown in color. Whew, look at his chariot, how it's organized and decorated. The fellow is so tall, huh? And wearing a garland, red colored garland around his neck, his mouth as big as death, dark hued, and looks like the sun that is covered by the clouds. Look at his arms and armlets. He himself shines like the Himalayas, and his shoulders, his arms and armlets shine on his shoulders, such like they look like 2 mighty peaks of the Himalayas. Both earrings, they are shining like anything. They look like this constellation Punarvasu stars. So, Vibhishana, please, who is this? Who is this Rakshasa, by looking at whom all the Vanaras have run away in all directions? So, Vibhishana, of course, you knew them. He says that Dashagrivo Mahateja Raja Vaishravananujaha is the son. Ravana is the younger brother of Kubera. Bhimakarma Mahatma hi Ravano Rakshaswaraha. And to such a Rakshasa, this mighty Ravana, Tasyasid Viryavan Putro Ravana Pratimo Bale, and his strength is exactly like Ravana's strength. Vriddha Sevi, he has served his elders very, very well. Shrutidhara, he has heard the Vedas and remembers everything very, very well. Sarvastra Vidusha Varaha, and is an expert in firing weapons. He is an expert in riding horses. Ashwaprushte, Nagaprushte. He is also an expert at riding an elephant. Khage. He is very, very expert in sword fighting. He is expert in archery. And Karshane. He is very good in putting his enemies in severe distress. Bhede sante cha dane cha naye mantre cha sammataha. He is very, very good in samadana danda bheda. He is very good, politically very astute, sharp, intelligent, extremely, extremely smart fellow. Yasya bahum samashritya lanka bhavati nirbhaya. Under his protection, his arms, the entire Lanka sleeps without any fear, which means he's a great protector. Tanayam Dhanya Malinya Atikaya Imam Viduhu. Another name of this Atikaya is Dhanya Malini. And under him, the entire Lanka is free, fearless. He, along with Ravana, have performed great austerities to please Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma, becoming very pleased, gave him the secrets of all sorts of mystical weapons and told him, Sura Asurer Vadhitvam Dattamasmai Swayambhuva. He has been freed of death in the hands of Devatas and Asuras. Etaccha kavacham divyam rathascha ravibhasvaraha. And look at his chariot and his armor. They are shining like the sun. And he has fought many, many wars. Etena satasho deva danavascha parajitaha. Hundreds and hundreds of devatas and asuras, danavas, have been completely defeated by him. Rakshitani cha rakshamsi yaschakshapi nidushita. And yakshas have also been killed by him. He is very, very famous or notorious Atikaya. Very mighty, very intelligent son of Ravana, a bull among the Rakshasas. In fact, even when there was a fight with Varuna, Varuna was defeated in combat. So, Sri Ramachandra, please direct all your power and strength and encourage the monkeys to fight with Atikaya. Only you, with your arrows, can finish Atikaya. Now look at Atikaya. He's entering into the ranks of the monkeys and finishing them all left, right, and center. Please do something. So hearing this, Kumuda, Dvivida, Mainda, Neela, Sharaba, they all fought with Atikaya. But Atikaya was so extraordinary and skillful with mystic weapons and fighting multiple people at one shot that he was not the least disturbed, even when all these mighty warriors are fighting with him. And they were not able to stop him. They were not able to resist Atikaya. And so Atikaya put so much terror into even these champions of monkeys. And puffed up with pride of youth, he would fight like anything. Then this Atikaya cut through the monkey army and rushed towards Sri Ramachandra. Atikaya seated on a chariot, he says, Rathe stitoham sharachapapani, holding bows and arrows in my hand. Na pratukritam, na prakritam kanchanam yodhyami. I will not fight with any ordinary fellow. These are not ordinary people. Kumuda, Dvivida, Mainda, Neela, Sharaba. He said they're all bachas. I'm not going to fight with them. Oh Rama, is there anyone in your army who can give me a good fight? Enough of these little ones. Is there a real warrior? When he was speaking like this, our hero Lakshmana became very upset. How dare he speak like this? Tasya vakyam bruvato nishamya chukopa saumitrir amitrahanta. The son of Sumitra became very chukopa, very angry. Amrishamanasya samutpata jagraha chapam cha tatah smayatva. Out of wonder, just and anger, Lakshmana grabbed his own bow and arrows. And with great anger, Lakshmana stretched his bow to its full length before Atikaya. As Lakshmana is pulling the bowstring and twanging it, the entire earth, the air, antariksha, the ocean, all four quarters of the world began to tremble. That Atikaya, astonished, to hear the twang of Lakshmana's bow, looked at Lakshmana. And you know what he said to him? Balastvamasi, you're a bacha. Saumitre, oh, the son of Sumitra, I consider you a bacha. Vikrameshva vichakshinaha. Vikrama ishu vichakshinaha. You're very good at showing your strength and valor. Gacha kim kala samkasha mam yodhyutamicchasi. What? You're a tiny bacha. You want to fight with me? Gacha, go away. Yeah, I don't want to fight with you. You're too small. I don't consider you strong enough. Because when I release arrows, the Himalayas, the Antariksha, that is the atmosphere, even the earth cannot withstand my force. Who are you then? Hmm? You think you can fight with someone like me? No. In fact, you should go, otherwise, you will lose your life. So don't be stubborn. If you are stubborn, then you can turn up and show how you can fight with me, and I will send you to Yamaraja's abode in a very quick way. Tishtha pranan parityajya gamishyasi yamakshayam. Tishtha. If you are proud enough, then you stay and I will kill you and send you to Yamaraja's abode very quickly. Because when I shoot arrows and shafts and javelins, hmm, and each looks like the Trishula of Lord Shiva, nobody can stand me. That arrow that I release will completely bring all your blood out. And just like a lion drinks the blood of an elephant. Saying this, Atikaya mounted a mighty arrow on his bow. When Lakshmana heard all this proud boasting from Atikaya, Lakshmana became very, very angry and said words which Valmiki says, Uvacha Vakyam cha tato mahartham, very meaningful words. Lakshmana said, lot of people talk. The real hero is who shows action. Talk is cheap. Anybody can say things. If you really think you are such a hero, then show by action. Not all these words. I will do this, I will do that. Show. Show me that you can actually fight in front of me. You seem to be sitting there in your chariot with all your weapons and this and that. Really, release some arrows, release some weapons, and let me see if you can really fight with me. I will cut off your head just the way when you hit a palm fruit, that entire palm fruit falls onto the ground. My arrows are decked with refined gold. And these arrows will drink the blood emanating from your body. You think I'm a small little boy. I'm not any boy. Whether I'm child or grown up, regardless, I am your death. In fact, there are a lot of people who underestimated a small boy. Back in history, Bali Maharaj saw Vamana as a small boy and underestimated him. That small boy, Vamana, became Trivikrama and covered the entire universe. So Atikaya, don't think chota bacha, small. No, you have no idea. These Vishnu Tattva small boys are, and this is my embellishment of it. Vamana also came as a small boy. Now, when these two personalities are calling each other to fight in a battle, the news spread to the entire universe that Lakshmana and Atikaya are about to fight with each other. So Vidyadharas, the Bhutas, the Deva, Daitya, Maharshis, Guhyakaha, and Mahatmanastadam Yuddham Drashtumagat. They wanted to see this. And so they all collected in the sky. Hey, what a wonderful match we're about to see. Atikaya released a fierce arrow upon Lakshmana. Lakshmana very easily split Atikaya's arrows with his own crescent-shaped venomous serpent-like arrows. When Atikaya saw that his arrow was easily split by Lakshmana, Atikaya became angry, fitted 5 arrows and released it on Lakshmana with full force. The younger brother of Bharata, Lakshmana, very easily split all of those 5 arrows. Now Lakshmana fitted a very, very sharp arrow that was flaming with splendor. When Lakshmana released it on Atikaya, that arrow moved with great speed and power. That arrow hit Atikaya right on his forehead. And it sunk right into his forehead and blood started oozing out. Severely injured by that arrow, uh, Atikaya lost his breath for a moment, then quickly came back to full energy, uh, told Lakshmana, "Wow, I underestimated you. By hitting me with such an arrow, you have earned my praise." Hmm. And then Atikaya, opening his big mouth, became angry and moved his chariot forward towards Lakshmana and picked up 1, 3, 5, and 7 arrows and all put them on his bow. So with his different fingers, he's holding different numbers of arrows, put them all on his bow and released it on Lakshmana. Those arrows seemed like the arrows of death coming towards. But Lakshmana did not even a little bit feel, oh, what is that? He himself released all these arrows and quickly cut off all of those arrows that Atikaya had sent towards Lakshmana. Now, Atikaya, because he has never faced this kind of opposition, and that too from a human being, and that too who he thinks as a small bacha, became so angry and now picked up a very sharp arrow and let it off on Lakshmana, right on Lakshmana's chest. As soon as that arrow hit Lakshmana, Lakshmana started very profusely bleeding. Lakshmana pulled out that arrow, picked up a sharp arrow of his own, invoked a mystical spell on it, and released it on Atikaya. Now, Atikaya, who himself was so powerful, released another mystical arrow on Lakshmana. In the meantime, Lakshmana shot a flaming arrow on Atikaya. So like this, these two are constantly fighting with each other, back and forth, arrow after arrow, shower after arrow, shower after shower of arrows. Then the war continues. I mean, this is just going back and forth. So I'm going to skip some of these. Of course, I want to hear at a personal level all of the details of Lakshmana's fighting, but I'm sensing it's almost an hour, and all of you may have lost a little bit of enthusiasm because of this fight. So Atikaya released Brahmastra on Lakshmana, but it did not hit or affect Lakshmana in the least. So finally, we'll come to where this is. Lakshmana uh, shot an arrow at Atikaya with such strength and intensity that it cut off Atikaya's head, along with the Kirita, Kundala, everything, and that head fell on the ground as if the peak of a Himalaya mountain falls on the ground. The Rakshasas were so shocked because they've never heard or think like Atikaya losing a battle. What to speak about losing a battle that Atikaya got killed. Naturally, the Rakshasas became all saddened and the Vanaras became so overjoyed by Lakshmana's victory. And all the audience in the sky started celebrating loudly the great victory of Lakshmana upon Atikaya. But as far as Lakshmana is concerned, very quickly he came back and stood by Sri Ramachandra. Kapi Kapinivahaischa Supujito Jagama Rama Parshvam. Although he was being worshipped, he went and stood right next to Sri Ramachandra to show everyone that we all in our lives should not get carried away by the words of appreciation, glorification of whatever victory or great oration or some accomplishment. Usually one's chest will fill up with pride and the chin will go up. The eyes will roll back into the head. Oh, I'm such a mighty, powerful, accomplishing personality that everybody is singing my glories. But our real hero is Lakshmana. What did he do? Although everyone, even in the sky, they're glorifying him. It's not just Vanaras, even the Devatas, the Rishis, the Danavas, everybody is glorifying him. But Tvaritam, very quickly, he went and stood Rama Parshvam, the side of Sri Ramachandra, to bring everyone's attention onto Sri Rama. Not that I need all this glorification. It is Sri Ramachandra. He is the person to be glorified. He is the person who's worthy of every glorification. I am but his very menial, insignificant servant. Tasyaham avaro bhrata gunat dasyam gataha. And when I consider his qualities, I become a servant. This is Lakshmana. Ah, what a personality. Okay, I'm going to stop here. I've already kept you for an hour. Let's see if there are any. We'll take one or maximum two reflections or some thoughts that if you have. Good lessons from Hanuman, good lessons from Lakshmana. Okay, anyone, any thoughts? Speak up because I don't see text so much. I see someone texting. Okay, meanwhile, if someone has anything to say. Okay, someone caught, maybe I made a mistake. Hold on. Uh, oh, I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. It was not Atikaya who released the Brahmastra. It was Lakshmana. Thank you, Sulochana. It was Lakshmana who shot the Brahmastra on Atikaya. Thank you. Thank you for that, Kat. My mistake. You're right.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please
Oh,
proceed.
Shamakun Prabhu. Voice thundering like the cloud.
Maybe my mic is like that. Um, in in the battle between Atikaya and Lakshmana, there is so much of uh, eagerness and enthusiasm in Atikaya to fight that he has fought so many battles, and he is once again trying to have one more battle with Lakshmana. And it seems that he's not bothered about death. There are people like Atikaya and many other Rakshasas prior to him are there for the thrill of the battle. And if you look at it from our perspective, we also go through life for the thrill of something that we like. And sooner or later, we all die here. Uh, if I mean, I'm just trying to come in terms to the fact where do we temper it with reason? Like, if suppose we remove the thrill from a person's life, they don't like to live at all. And the other extreme is one loses valuable opportunities to do other things. Is there something that you can throw light on how do we discern the balance between the thrill of doing something versus introspecting deeply or even reflecting on what's required to be done in life?
Um, like Atikaya, people can be in severe denial of the reality or of reality. The reason he has this name Atikaya is that he is fully reliant on his physical brute strength. But who's standing in front of him doesn't have brute strength, but is Lakshmana. So this is where brute strength meets its match. Now, Atika is relying on his past success. Just because Atikaya has won so many battles in the past, there is no guarantee that this one he's going to win. But he relies, is overconfident on his physical strength. And that physical strength wears out in a human being with time. What people could accomplish, they may not be able to accomplish anymore. I know my own condition. So it's not a defeatist idea, but definitely a an assessment of reality. So everybody in life at different stages must assess reality, uh, and must assess reality, in fact, every day, but regularly at least. The realities of how things are assessing. Atikaya doesn't assess anything. He just relies very much on, although, see, the interesting thing is he's introduced to us through Vibhishana by Sri Ramachandra's questions that he is an expert in uh, political acumen. He's fantastic. He's strong. He's intelligent. The entire Lanka sleeps fearlessly under his arms. Such a person completely underestimates Lakshmana. So this brute strength makes a person so blind. Brute relying on one's own ability without reading reality can make a person completely enamored and blind. Now, it doesn't mean that a person should say, "Oh, I'm becoming old." And no, one should assess what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses. What are the strengths of the surroundings that I am in? And how do I speak and behave or act? Not just in this situation, but in general. Some people are defeatists and they lose the zest for life. Some people are in denial that they think that life can continue like this. One of the commentators of Ramayana, this is many years ago, spoke that the body, because it is Atika is being talked about, body is being spoken about. If I remember right, he said the body, as it is aging or through youth, up to a certain point, roughly around 50, uh, is called Deha. And from 50 onwards, it is referred to as or commonly known as Sharira. Deha uh, is the reference that it grows its strength, it grows in its ability to enjoy and relish and digest whatever it was given to eat. After 50, considering 100 as the scale, after 50, it says that the nervous system begins to consider itself as sharira, that things start to dry up in the body. The ones all the juicy air and other ligaments that were nice and oiled and lubricated start to begin to become dry. So the body starts drying up as an early warning that it has to become dry enough that it is going to be used to burn. It's going to be burnt. That's sharira. So, food that is being eaten or life that is being lived must be considered in that context. Because I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news or speaking in some sort of very, what's that called? Mm, very saddening type. It's a word with M that's not coming to my mind right now. Morbid way. But that's something to be aware of. So one doesn't lose the zest for life as time. One either lives with regret or one tries to make the best of whatever is remaining. That's been something I've been considering a little bit of late. Like what else? What all needed to have done that I haven't done? And maybe it's time to, whatever little time is there, try and live life with the real zest of not the physical enjoyment, but the enjoyment of the spirit. But that's something for only a person who has some spiritual intervention can consider. Otherwise, it's not easy. In fact, it's not even a consideration. Those are some thoughts. I'm not sure if I'm even in the neighborhood of what you were asking.
You hit the nail on its head, too. Thank you.
One should be one daily considering the fortune of such a spiritual intervention in one's life, that there is the presence of Guru, Hari, Guru, Vaishnava, Bhagavata Gita. Hari, Guru, Vaishnavas, and the great scriptures. That these are our real wealth that will take us from here to the other world. All other wealth stays back. Sharira is going to be burnt. But it's a vehicle, and that vehicle is very important to take us from where we are to where we want to go. Angam galitam, galitam tundam, dasha vihina jatas mundam. What is that? Na munchati asha pindam. Even then, the pindam, the mountain or bag or collection of asha, desires, never reduce. Angam galitam, the body has become all ripened. Uh, Palitam tundam, the tongue is also something, I forget the exact words. Do you remember it? Dashanavihina jatam tundam, that the teeth are all become broken and gone away. Nahi nahi munchati asha pindam. Do you know that verse, Shamakun Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah.
Say it.
I don't recollect fully. I recollect here reading and hearing that verse in my childhood.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It just occurred that there are many other verses. Just remember that. Okay, any other one? Actually, 9:50. So sorry, we're not going to take more. I don't want to keep people waiting. Thank you very much for being here. We will meet again next week where we will hear what happens next. Atikaya has been killed. Something happens to Ravana. You know what happens? He becomes anxious. Atikayam hatam shrutva lakshmanena mahatmana udvegam agamat raja vachanam cha idam abravit. Udvegam, anxiety. Ravana becoming anxious. One slap of Lakshmana. Okay. Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ji ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All the Vaishnavas ki jai.